All right, welcome back for another CBSI Hot 10 show. Make sure you go over to comicbookinvest.com and check out the article where I may put a few extra little tidbits and details that I may not cover here on the show tonight. Also, make sure you check out all the content we have on the site over there, as well as all the content we have here on the channel as well. Make sure that you like, you subscribe, you hit the alert button so you don't miss anything. Keep telling your friends so we can keep growing the channel. And for those of you out there who haven't tried Whatnot yet, now's your chance. Use my link down in the description below. Save yourselves $15 off your first purchase. It's a free $15 to spend on whatever you want with whomever you want. No strings attached, just for signing up and giving it a try. You help out the channel, you get yourself something nice, so you really got nothing to lose just to give it a try. But if you just want to see the Hot 10, don't worry, I got you covered. All you got to do is wait for a few seconds after the intro, and I will be right back.
Notable sales.
And our first notable sale this week is this difficult to find Batman 608 City of Burbank Special Edition. The only way to get this thing was to have taken the tour over at Burbank Studios, and that's how you got yourself this comic. So how many people actually were able to get a hold of one of these things? Probably not that many when you consider there's not that many in the actual census. But today we have this cover by Jim Lee. It's a special edition, as I mentioned, and it's sold for an all-time high. Granted, it's the only CGC 9.8 sale, but it still is an all-time high at $7,500 this week. $7,500 for this, again, very hard to find, rare variant. So, good luck if you're trying to find one out there, but chances are most of us are not going to be able to come across one. But still, first CGC 9.8 sale, only CGC 9.8 sale, $7,500. So that is the high water mark and also the floor, apparently, since it's the only one. Now, on top of this, DC also gave us another book to pay attention to. With all the hoopla and talk about Jason Momoa playing Lobo, I'm not surprised some folks have turned back to this. Again, another difficult to find variant. This is the Green Lantern 55 Doug Mahnke cover. Awesome cover with the all the rings on the fingers. 1 in 25 incentive. This thing's not easy to find. And from what I can tell, this is the highest price I've ever seen for a raw copy, but $400 this week's raw looks like it's the all-time high, at least as far as I'm aware. Granted, it sold in November for only $250 raw, and then last week $575, but that was for a 9.8. $400 raw is a huge price. So again, it looks like it's an all-time high for a raw sale to me, but I can't confirm it. I've just never seen it reach that mark. So this is another book just to be keeping an eye on for, and something just to note, because this is a difficult to find variant. I'm not surprised, given the Lobo news, that this was one of the few books that also got caught up in the swell of excitement for Momoa playing the role. Now, with that said, before we get to the top 10, make sure if you're out there shopping for your supplies, your bags, your boards, your long boxes, short boxes, top loaders, whatever you need to keep your comics and collectibles safe, save 10% off by using my code RENA10 right here. Use the link, use the code RENA10. You might as well save some money while you have to buy those supplies that we all need to keep our stuff safe. So again, 10% off before we get into the actual top 10. Just use the code RENA10 down below. Now, with that said, let's not waste any more time, and let's just get right to the list.
Number 10.
Hanging on from last week, Lobo is still a thing. People are still picking up Lobo books, including this, Justice League International number 18. This is really our first iteration of the main man version of Lobo, not the Carnival clown that we were actually introduced to in Omega Men 3 with the purple and orange peach outfit. This is more the main man that we all know and love. This book, again, it's doing decent volume, a little bit up from last week with over 30 sales. The average is now up to $10, where last week and even this week, there's still a few really, really cheap sales. There are cheap copies still out there, but on average, we're seeing it closer to $10 because we're seeing more highs in that kind of $20 plus kind of mark. So prices are going up, higher grade. Obviously, you're going to get a higher price. It's just more people are paying attention to this book, which I think it's about time that this book has been recognized. I mean, it is kind of important when you redesign a character, basically, for a completely new look. And this is the look we know. So I don't know. hanging on to the list again here at number 10, with again some decent volume in what is still kind of a slow market. But there's some interesting stuff still to talk about this week. Now, with that said, let's get on to our next book.
Number 9.
Now, this one I looked at last week. This is Time Slide, the 1 in 50 hidden gem variant by Rob Liefeld. This was selling a little bit above ratio last week. This was kind of in that like 60. There was a couple $70 sales. Nothing really to write home about because the volume was also pretty low. Granted, the volume is still low this week with only about a half a dozen sales, but the prices have gone up considerably. So I can't ignore this book any longer, even with low volumes, because there's not a lot out there either. I just don't think stores ordered that heavily into this Time Slide book, even though it did replace the Timeless books that we've been getting annually. But again, with those half dozen sales, it's averaging over $100 now. That's double that ratio mark, even hitting a high of 165 raw. I even saw some pre-sale 9.8s out there, but I don't like to report on those. So just going with that raw price, a high of 165 is a new high watermark for this book, which is only a couple of weeks old now. I get it. Liefeld still has his fans, but I'm not going to get into the proportions and his frame in this. I mean, it is what it is. That said, let's keep it rolling and get to our next book and see what we got in here at number 8.
Number 8.
Well, the main man hasn't gone away completely. Yes, this is quite a drop from number 1 last week, but it's still selling quite a bit. It is still one of the biggest movers on the market. It's just volumes are down a bit from last week. We're still seeing over 100 sales this past week, with highs going up from, it was $80 last week, inching up to about $90 this week on average. A high raw, $300, $300 raw. That's crazy when you consider CGC 9.8s highs were about $450, and there are some 9.8s still that sold in that $375 mark. So to pay $300 raw, you better be guaranteed to be getting that 9.8 because you have very little room for error at that price. Considering you got to pay grading fees, shipping to and from, or even on site, it's going to cost you more. Just saying, $300 is a big price to pay for a raw copy of this book, especially when the averages are closer to 90. That said, it's still doing well. It's still selling in high volumes, just not as high of a volume as it was last week. And the prices kind of inched up just a little bit. Apart from that, that's that one-off $300 sale. So with that said, that's why it's coming in at 8. But we're going to move on and see what we got in our lucky number 7 spot.
Number 7.
Now, this book is a precursor to another we will see probably later on the list. This is the first cover appearance of Sue Storm in her Malice persona because, the Marvel Rivals game has shown that we will be getting different skins for Sue Storm, as the Fantastic Four and Sue Storm are being released, I believe, today as playable characters, but you could purchase, I believe, the Malice outfit, and then there's also a Blood Shield or something, another option out there for you too. Point being, Marvel Rivals is selling comic books, which is very surprising to me. I mean, you look at what it's done with Jeff the Landshark. It even brought Luna Snow back into the things. I'm surprised. Video games actually moving comic books once again. But here we go. This is a case where Fantastic Four 281. Nobody was buying this book last week. No one. They put a skin out for this game. All of a sudden, people are starting to rush to this John Byrne classic. And granted, volumes are not, crazy, but it's only been about a day since we've seen the news. So with a couple dozen sales, hitting highs at $13, granted, most of these are still very, very cheap as far as the sales go. But people clear out those cheap copies. People are digging in their back issue boxes. Even shops are digging in their back issues and pulling these things out, trying to get those, $10 to $15 sales while people are going and paying that. So hitting a high of $13 at a couple dozen sales in just a day or two is showing just how much people are enjoying this Marvel Rivals game. Now, with that said, let's keep this thing rolling and see what we got in at our next spot.
Number 6.
Hanging on to the list again, but dropping a couple of spots, we still have Mark Spears' Monsters number 1, the cover A, the looking down cover, as some might list it. Yes, Monsters is still a factor in our market, and here is why. Prices on this thing have actually exceeded The Bride. The Bride was the cover to have. You remember that was the hottest book of 2024, almost, when I did my countdown and rundown just a few weeks ago. But now the cover A has exceeded that. How much so? It's averaging $200 now, hitting a high of 350 raw. Raw 350, averaging $200. CGC 9.8 sold for $500 this week. It was like $350. Now all of a sudden it's $500 with a raw getting $350. This, no pun intended, this thing is a monster. And this book, I thought we had hit the ceiling, but apparently I was wrong. So with that said, that's why it is still lingering on the list for yet another week, because strong sales, strong prices, strong averages, it just won't be denied. And with that said, let's keep it going and see what else we still got on the list.
Number 5.
And I say what we still have on the list because in the same spot as last week, we have another book that just won't quit. This is that 1 in 50 Spawn book for issue 360, the Brett Booth Virgin cover. Todd's back in writing the book. They made a big deal about it and giving it a 1 in 50, where Spawn doesn't really have incentive variants all that often. So here is one. Came out of nowhere to me as far as them throwing it a 1 in 50, but the prices have doubled where it was last week. Granted, not a ton of volume. We're still looking at about 10 sales like we were last week, but the average is now $210, hitting a high of $270, where it was only about like $100 last week. So doubling in price is why this one held its position while Monsters dropped below it, because Monsters went up as well. Monsters was averaging 150, went up to 2. This was averaging like 100, went up to 210. Prices are getting insane. I don't know where all these extra bucks come from. I guess maybe some Christmas bonus money people got, their Christmas presents, their year end. Who knows? But a lot of money is flying towards very specific books lately. And it's kind of interesting. With that said, still lingering there at number 5, Spawn 360, that Virgin Brett Booth variant. And with that said, let's keep it going and see what we got next.
Number 4.
Okay, I teased this one with 281, so here it is, issue 280 of Fantastic Four. This is the first appearance of that Malice persona or outfit, whatever you want to call it, of Sue Storm. Again, all thanks to NetEase and their Marvel Rivals game. I am just shocked at video games moving books as strongly as they are. It's just something we haven't really seen in the past, and it's refreshing in a way and kind of exciting. With that said, this book, again, news is only like 2 days old, if that. 30 plus sales on this one, with raws hitting a highest of $16. Again, plenty of cheaper sales under than that, but the cheap copies clearing out very quickly. We're seeing lots of $10, $12 sales hitting 16. A CGC 9.8 even sold for $135 this week. Just saying. We'll probably see more volume into this as the week goes on, but the news is only a day or two old, and this is already what it's doing. We'll see how it carries on through the weekend and how many people adopt that look and that skin when they're playing. Because, again, characters just dropped today, so we'll see how popular they are with players as the weekend goes on. With that said, we still have our top 3 left, so let's just see what they are.
Number 3.
I told you, Marvel Rivals is moving books. And this week, we saw 3 variants come out featuring the designs for the Marvel Rivals characters by NetEase. So here is the first. Amazing Spider-Man number 65. Again, part of the 8 Deaths of Spider-Man storyline. There's some other cool covers here, but we're specifically talking about the Marvel Rivals design cover. And this one, you can only credit NetEase with this because they won't tell us the exact character designer, because I guess it was a team effort. So we're just looking at the video game developer for this as our cover artist. 100 plus sales on this bad boy this week. Granted, many of them were for cover price or near cover price, maybe a buck or two over, but hitting highs of mostly around $10. But there was one outlier at 18, but most of these are around $10 on the high end. Again, it's just one of those things. People are gravitating towards this. Cheap copies cleared out, and now they're starting to sell more for a premium. Again, this only came out Wednesday. I'm doing this list Friday afternoon. So we're talking about a day and a half worth of sales, 2 days at best. who knows where this is going to go as the weekend continues. I got to do this as quickly as I can and get this information out to you so you get this list every week by 9 p.m. on Friday, as promised. With that said, this one, moving in volume, most started at near cover, but a lot are going up more towards that $10 price now. So we'll see how this goes as the weekend continues, but we still got 2 books left, so let's see what we got.
Number 2.
I mentioned there were more Rivals covers, didn't I? Here, Magic number 1 came out this week, and despite the fact that we had 1 and 200s, doing okay, not a lot of volume, 1 and 100s, etc. J. Scott Campbell covers, David Nakayama covers. Despite all that, this Marvel Rivals cover is the one that a lot of folks are getting excited about and paying a premium for. So, once again, credit NetEase with this. This game is a lot of people can talk about. There are people at my office who are talking about they couldn't wait to play this game this weekend. I've tried it. I like it, but it's just not really my thing. Maybe I got to give it another look. Maybe I got to give it another try and see if I can get as enraptured by this game as many people are. But Magic, unlike the Spidey, has only about 80 plus sales, where Spidey was a little over 100. And again, this one was a lot near cover, but this one is hitting a lot more highs. This one is hitting highs more in the $25 to $30 range already. Granted, some $10 sales here, $15 sales there, 20 here. Prices all over, but all the cheap copies got cleared. Now we're looking at premium pricing. Who knows what that upper echelon ceiling is going to be, but right now it's 25 to 30 bucks, which is kind of impressive for a book. Again, it's only 2 days old. So with that, we've got 1 book left. I know I told you there were 3, so I'm sure you probably can guess what's left here at number 1.
And our number 1.
What do you want me to tell you? People are buying these things. All new Venom number 2. This is continuing the Who is the Venom storyline, where it's a kind of a mystery. We don't know who it is. Is it Robbie Robertson? Is it Luke Cage? Is it Rick Jones? Is it Madam Mask? We don't know. Dylan's trying to figure it out and try to get that symbiote back. But all that aside, other variants aside, the Marvel Rivals cover is the gem of the week, the pick of the crop, the book everybody seems to be gravitating towards, as this one has over 100 sales already, averaging about 10 bucks, with much less cover price sales, a lot more in that $10 range, hitting highs of 30, a lot of $20, $25 sales mixed in there as well. People are liking it. People are liking the game. They want these covers. They want these books. They want that extra touch point to the game, and they're willing to pay premium pricing for it. I don't know if this took shops by surprise. My buddy who owns a shop told me, he told me on Wednesday, he was like, I should have ordered more of those Rivals covers because they're all gone. This was Wednesday afternoon, like around lunchtime. So these things cleared out quick. People seem to be wanting them, and they're paying a premium. So that's what we're looking at here with a rush of sales for that number 1 spot. Venom. Cool. I mean, I don't know what else to tell you, except that's the list for this week. And you all need to stick around and check out the Qualified, which starts right after I'm done here, as the boys are going to be looking ahead to what other artists you should be watching for the year of 2025. So we kick this year off. Who are the artists you need to be watching? We're going to see some new names popping up on this list, some people you haven't heard of, some maybe some minor artists that all of a sudden they're going to step up in the limelight. I don't know. We'll see what the boys have in store for us if you stick around right after this is done. And with that said, I'll see you all soon with some more content. All right, later.